Playing a game we understand an activity organized just for fun. I would like to know what is game for you as a game professional.
I like actually the thing that people think that games are fun because me as an educational game designer and gamification expert, I want more people to enjoy learning as a game, which would mean that learning can be also fun. But I think the biggest misunderstanding is what does it mean fun? Because there are so many different things that can describe fun. So for example, for me, fun is maybe something difficult to solve. For you, maybe fun is being an expert of something. So the more fun the games in education are, I think the better learning quality is.
How can games become educational activities and can all the games become educational?
Well, I think every game has a potential to do it, but it all depends on the educator. So how the person can use the game. So for example, maybe you like to play Dixit cards with your friends for fun and just for entertainment. But at the same time, the main principle can apply for educational purposes. So for example, the pictures can inspire you to reflect on your learning or to reflect on your achievements and so on. So I think one of the most important thing is to organize a reflection. If you're just using a game, some kind of other game for learning purposes. But at the same time, there are also examples how you can create educational games themselves. So actually the game and the process being in the game already becomes educational. We can have a look at this example here, zoom in, zoom out game about human rights. It's actually, you're in the game, you're kind of enjoying time with your friends, but at the same time you get to know a lot of interesting facts from all over the world, how different kind of women live and maybe what kind of struggles they have. And game itself can reveal it. So my suggestion first of all would be, if you're using some kind of other game in your educational activity, first, don't forget to do reflection on how people understood the game. And on the other side, if you take educational game, make sure that people understood what they have learned.
What are the bases for all the game sciences and what about dynamics, mechanics and components?
So I think, there's a lot of research done and there are a lot of people who are studying and publishing their works on games and how games can influence different developments of young people. I also have colleagues in Netherlands who have a play institute and they actually use different methods of how, and they watch kids playing, and through play they can actually recognize if the kid has some kind of mental disorder. There's a lot of science behind it, and it's not an easy thing to create a good and plus educational game. But I think it all comes with the nature of people, because people are sometimes called homoludens, which means person player or human player. So actually playing is in our nature. And for us, it's so easy to understand like what is a game and what is not, and why I'm in the game or why I'm sometimes not. So there are quite a lot of different motivational theories that base kind of game design. And if to analyze it deeper, so I guess the basic thing that every game should provide is kind of self-determination for people. So there is this famous self-determination theory that says that people have to have competence, they have to have autonomy, and they have to have relatedness with other people. And then they're motivated intrinsically to do something. And this can be a game, this can be learning, this can be something else. So this is the basic, and then games actually are described or defined that they have several things. So they have rules, they have goal, they have some kind of feedback system, and they have a platform where you're playing, whether it's in your imagination, maybe these are the cards that are your platform. Of course, there are players or a player who wants to play it. And the most important thing is that it's volunteer. So you choose to play on voluntary basis, and that is your motivation to be in the game. If we talk about gamification, so we're just taking several things from games. We call them mechanics, dynamics, different components that games usually have, and then we apply it for non-game context. Let's say washing your dishes at home, you can make it fun. Or learning as a process, you can also make it more fun by just involving those triggers that people are tricked by in games, and you can convert them into non-game situations. So this is like the basics or the pyramid of how games are being constructed. So in a way, as a game designer or gamification designer, I always aim to create a certain emotion in the process of the game. I aim to create a narrative, I aim to create a certain relationship, whether it would be a competition or maybe cooperation. And there are more components and mechanics that you can use. For example, you can make the process more fun by involving turns or hiding some secret eggs in the game, or making teams to cooperate or to compete for fun and so on. So when you are a game designer, you're putting your game designer hat on, you have to master all these tools that are around and make sure that your game fits different players, like different player types. So it involves also people who want a reward, or a person who wants to be better than he or she was before, or a person who wants to be just explorer and he wants to go around in your game and doesn't want to follow the rules, and so on and so on. So combination of these different things makes your game playful and fun.
Is gamification a positive thing in your opinion, and what is your prediction on the future of the gamification?
I think the most important thing is that the gamification or this process, because if we think that people like to play games, so if it's gamified, then people will be sometimes even unconsciously involved in a certain activity, because this is, you're triggering their most natural instincts in a way and motivators. So I think the gamification should be ethical. It should be used for good. So there are examples in the world, for example, now in China, where gamification is used kind of to control people. But here in non-formal education field, in youth work, we're looking how gamification can actually encourage people to learn, to join, to explore, to feel involved, and to feel engaged. Looking at the future, and if we look at the business side, business is already using gamification for many years. Probably you know examples of collecting stickers at the store so you can get something cheaper, or collecting miles when you're flying and traveling. So these mechanics have already been used for many years. Looking at the future, I'm seeing gamification to be used more and more. And I think nowadays the millennial generation of youngsters, they're also called people who always need something to be proud of, or they need rewards on every corner, and so on and so on. And I think this is very much influenced by also different games that people play. And nowadays, for example, video games are getting more and more popular, so people are more involved in video games than in reality. So I don't know if we can really change the reality, but we can make it better using gamification.
Are there games that you wouldn't like to exist?
Yes, probably the example of some political games. From the broader perspective, games are actually a part of our everyday life. The way how we communicate, the way how the system is created, the way how laws are working in our society, everything is basically a kind of human game, So I guess there is something for every type of player or for every type of personality in different games. So I have my preferences for games, maybe somebody else have their own preferences. But if we would talk about something specific, I would say usually people would decide whether this game is good or not, or whether they want to use it or not. I hope that all unethical games wouldn't be here. to be honest.
People that would like go deeper in gamification, what's your advice where they should start from?
I guess the first step would be explore as many different games as you can. Be a player. Play table games, play video games, play games in groups, play games alone, play with your phone, and become this explorer. Because there's so many different variations of combining those mechanics in games that if you have experience of just one game, you might be thinking that this is the only way how games can be. So my first proposal would be play a lot, and then also look at what you like about games or what you like in a particular game. So this is maybe something that triggers you to be in it. Then there are some resources that you can look after on the internet. Try and experiment. Try to use those different mechanics in applying it to your own situation. So probably you have some kind of difficulty or challenge, maybe involving young people, maybe making someone joining your club or go volunteer. So these are the kind of challenges that you can solve by proposing something fun, something gamified. So when you know what is your problem, it will be much easier to understand who are the people who needs some engagement, and then build on that.
When did you understand that gamification should become your profession?
Well, actually, this is one of the topics that I'm very much interested as a trainer in the non-formal education field. When I was finishing my university in Lithuania in 2013, my bachelor thesis was based on how gamification can actually do good for non-governmental sector in a way. So I chose to gamify blood donation process in Lithuania to encourage more volunteer-based blood donation. And doing this research, I understood how interesting is actually this science of gamification and games. And then I thought, wow, this has a huge potential. And I even see bigger positive effects when you use it for learning. And learning was my profession, so I just joined and took another level. I leveled up in a way and started using gamification in my training courses, in the local community, and also we are organizing different activities for other cities in Lithuania and around Europe.